Hello, and welcome back to the Keep It at Real Estate podcast with Team Bober. I am one of your hosts, Chris Bober.
Jen Bober.
And together we form Team Bober here at Nebraska Realty. And our mission is to build relationships by providing a positive real estate experience to exceed our clients' expectation. And we do that by educating and empowering our clients, serving with authentic hospitality and providing a client first representation. Now, before we get into the podcast, we're going to say welcome to 2026. That's what our topic is today.
Yes.
Just wanted to remind everyone out there, if you are listening to this in a podcast app, just click that subscribe button. That way you follow us and you get notified when new episodes come out. If you're watching this on YouTube, right down there is a subscribe button. That really helps our numbers to get the message out. And if you are following us on social media, our handle is @Team Bober. Just do all the things they do on social media, like, share, retweet, all those fun things.
All the things.
Absolutely. But we're excited because we finally made it to 2026. It feels like it's been a long time coming, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I think we've all been looking for like a fresh start, kind of.
Yeah, and what better way to do that than
welcome to our home. We're not at the Nebraska Realty podcast studio and looking to change things up in 2026. Still loving what we do. We're in the business of homes, so come on into our home. We're here in our kitchen, and
what better way to say you help people buy and sell homes than to be in your own home?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. It's something different, change of scenery. We're excited about it, and yeah, it'll still be the same informative stuff and sharing what we know and what we've experienced out there.
Yeah, and we are a little bit, I would say, energized.
Yeah.
Starting 2026. And
For
I mean, there's some reasons to that. We're going to get into some of the details of that, but just so far in 2026, we've had a great year already.
Yeah.
Right. It seemed like, if you look kind of the history of this market of where we've come from, we had these very, very crazy unicorn years, right? These were like going into the pandemic and coming out of them, and sellers were doing amazing because they could ask whatever they want, right? And there were so many buyers, things were going so fast. It just created a frenzy.
Buyers.
It created a frenzy for buyers and sellers because on one side, the sellers, there's a major lack of inventory.
Yeah.
But on the other side, there's these buyers and they're getting 3-4% interest rates. Yeah. So it was like the perfect combination of just chaos.
Yeah, create a lot of volatility.
Yeah, and there's so many people that, that was the only time I've ever known that where buyers and sellers are both winning. I mean, as far as like really doing well, having advantages. Okay, so we go through those years, and because of, it going so fast and so furious for a few years, there had to be some sort of reset, right? Yeah. So just overall national economy, inflation starts to creep in after all the spending during the pandemic. And all of a sudden you saw the government come in and try to control inflation by raising interest rates, which subsequently didn't directly, but it kind of led to interest rates. I mean, in just a few month period, interest rates doubled.
Yeah.
By moving from in the 3s to about 7%, which was a major shock to the system, right? It just put kind of a stop sign. And we kind of limped along here for a little bit. And then it feels like that was like in the middle of 2022, right? So we had 23, 24, and 25. And they were decent years. Like it wasn't like the recession where people were like, it was so harsh that it was crazy, but it was just slower, right? I mean, we work by referral. We work with all you guys out there. So our business stayed steady, but the market overall just did not grow, right? We saw 2 and 3 of the lowest years in terms of volume in the market that we've seen in a long time. Okay, now of course, when things go down, they got to come up, right? We get to this last year, 2025, right? And that year didn't take off as much as many people thought it would.
I feel like all the experts in the industry and all of that really sort of thought 2025 was going to be the uptick again. And I think all of us were excited, and it just didn't really kind of take off like they thought.
And I think
it still is creating a pent up need.
Yeah, the demand is pent up. But 2025, in my opinion, got out the gates really, really well. And about the first, till like May, maybe June, it was trending towards being a bounce back year. And it was. Overall, it was better than the previous 2 years, right? So it's kind of a setup year. But then the second half of 2025, it was actually really slow. Would you agree?
Yes, I would agree. It was, I think we moved into this environment that most agents, if you've been in the business 10 years or less, had never seen. And so that really was an opportunity for learning. And I mean, I'll just say myself, I'm in my 10th year. I've been doing this, you've been doing it longer, but in my 10-year career decade, this was the first type of market that I've seen. So, I mean, I had you who'd seen other things, and I was lucky in that way. But yeah, it definitely was interesting and unpredictable.
Yeah, and I don't think we predicted it really shutting off. So to continue the story, we get to about the middle of 2025, and all of a sudden things come to a standstill, right? And we had been selling and helping people buy houses at the beginning, and our expectation was that was going to continue to happen. Well, starting June and July, it just came to a halt, and it seemed like the buyers and sellers were just kind of apart from each other, and there was this large chasm in the middle, right, where the sellers are like, well, I see all these houses selling, they're going up, I want this amount of money. The buyers over here saying, nah, I'm not going to pay that. And I think we had to go through that period where it's kind of like when you watch a UFC fight or a boxing match, and they just kind of circle around each other and no one wants to throw the first punch, right? And at one point the referee says, let's go. I was going to call it forfeit.
Right.
That's what the end of last year was, right? But honestly, after the first year, we've got almost all of our listings under contract.
It just all of a sudden the switch has flipped, and
it was almost like it's an arbitrary date, the new year. Nothing literally changed from December 31st to January 1st, except for people's perception in their minds. And at that point, and we've seen that all the way through this month of January. I mean, weather stuffs it down a little bit when it gets cold, but we have seen buyers out there, and the activity's just taken off, and rates haven't changed. Rates have actually gone up a little bit this month. But it just goes to show you that all the factors of the things that happen when people need to buy or sell a house have continued to happen, but the sales haven't happened. So as we look at this year, and we're not going to necessarily predict, we'll get to a little bit of that at the end, but there's all these people who need to buy and sell houses that have really been, circling around each other. And it feels like people are just ready to get in the game. We are seeing the economy rebound, right? And, not to be political, but the bill that was passed last year, the big, beautiful bill, the effects of that are starting to take shape, right? We have these major corporations that are having huge savings in what they had saved up to pay in taxes. Well, now they're reinvesting back in the economy. So people are getting paid more, their jobs are more prolific, they're investing back into the company, and people, it's again, there's a lot of factors out there, but it just seems like people are more confident once the new year, once the calendar page flipped. Would you agree that they're more confident buyers and sellers?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been, I think we were kind of in this stall, I'll say, like beginning of summer and things like that. And so as doing this every day, and this is your career and this is what you do, you kind of, there gets to be a little bit of that anxious energy. And if I'm being honest, personally, I was like, well, we're going into winter too. So even though I know there's that shift in mindset every year for decades, once you hit a new year, there are always people who are like, new year, new me, let's buy a house or sell a house. But I really wasn't I was half expecting it. And so it was like a really wonderful thing when, we could start really going to work and working hard for our clients, and things were starting to move. So
well, it's exciting to see people that are in the market to buy and sell houses rather than the market to ask and inquire, which we're more than willing to do. We obviously we develop long-term relationships, and then we're there when they do need us. But we see people with a little bit more urgency. A couple of things. The first thing I want to talk about that's coming back, right? And we just didn't get this during the pre-COVID and then after COVID years, is what we call seasonality. Okay, this is a very real thing, and last year was probably the first time that we had to reintegrate expectations based on seasonality, right? So there's a curve that goes up, and we start at the beginning of the year, and we're going to continue to go up all the way through. There'll be a major influx of houses that go to the market here in the spring, right? About the end of spring, beginning of summer, they'll start selling, and then as a community, we'll get distracted in the summer. We'll see a slight dip, right? And then we'll see another not big, but another push towards the fall, and then as we come to the holidays, it'll dip again, right? That curve, you call it the Dooley curve, right? That's happened years and years. I mean, through the history of real estate, and it was only really in the 18, 19, 20, 21 years that we didn't see that. It was fast and furious all the time. So we are learning now to reintegrate that into our expectations. And we don't see major dips as far as price and stuff goes, but maybe days on market. Sometimes
Yep.
you have to
Well,
adjust those kind of
it's
things.
it's stabilizing. Right?
Yeah, but whatever we've gone through to get here, we are, I think, as a market, especially here in Omaha, especially here in the Midwest, we're in a very solid place, right? Rates are in the low sixes. They sometimes dip into the fives. Everyone's saying, "Oh my gosh, we got to get down in the fives. We got to get down towards 4." That actually starts to become unhealthy, because then people spend so much and prices will shoot up. We saw that when rates were in the 2s and 3s. The pricing went out of this world, and we eventually had to not crash, we had to level off, kind of plateau.
Right.
We're at a part now where buyers and sellers are both in a good spot, right? So we do know that rates are going to be there. We expect rates to remain steady or maybe even dip a little bit. I wouldn't expect us to get into the mid to low fives consistently. Like, we might get there some, and we'd be pleasantly surprised if it does.
Right.
But the new normal is around 6%, and that's a very healthy margin interest rate to buy a house at. It's very healthy for the sales side too.
Right.
So that's just what our expectations are. We also want to talk about just kind of wiping the slate clean of maybe these last 5 years and saying, okay, what's the new reality in our market, right? And we're going to generalize here, because every instance is specific, right? When you sit down with a client about selling their house, there's a lot of factors that go into it, but the trends in the market affects it, just like where we start, right?
Right. And I think one of the things that does remain the same is, I think, what the public is hearing about the market, so that people will get click rates and all of that, is not always fully accurate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's when you reach out to your trusted realtor or us or what, and really get a true picture of what your situation is.
Yeah.
Like I was working with some buyers and sellers. Really, it's a perception from both of them,
Yeah.
where, oh my gosh, homes have lost value, and there's this like panic button, and you're like, no, real estate typically doesn't now, no, is it overselling for way more than it should be, like it was back in, after COVID and things like that? No, it's stabilized more, but you're still gonna always gain equity, and I think that, like the mainstream media,
don't listen to the news, because
sometimes, I get it from when I talk to my parents, or I talk to people who aren't in the business, essentially.
And it doesn't matter if you're watching Fox or CNN, they're going to try to get you to stay on there, and they want to create drama.
I was at the dentist
yesterday,
and my hygienist was like, classic case of like falling into all the hot button, and she's afraid her house is going to be worth nothing because the house down the street has been sitting for a month, and you know what I mean? It's just, anyway, and you're like, no,
Well, but I will say is,
just have a real conversation with us or someone else.
And they still try to pepper us with negative news, but it's nice to see some positive news.
Yes.
And we have seen that. Those are based by facts and statistics. And last week at our Nebraska Realty Summit, they showed these very same day from 2 different newspapers. They were different sides of the aisle. One talked about the buyers have more promise than ever. The other one talked about how buyers are in worse shape than ever, on the exact same day. Same day. So if you want to know what's going on, just call us. But let's talk about the realities of doing this right now. Again, sellers and buyers are really on even ground, right? Statistics are showing right now we actually have more sellers than buyers, and that has really been coming off of the previous 5 or 6 months when the buyers weren't super active and houses were building inventory and taking longer. Since the first year, we almost see that number kind of coming back to level. Okay, and that's what we predict. I think until we slow down again, which probably won't be till summer, when listings will sit a little longer and buyers will get out of the game for a little while. But with this, let's talk about when someone calls us to sell a house.
Yeah.
Okay. Because, selling is very systematic, and listing your house, and there's a challenge to it. And Jen and I do this together, right? I have a very detailed system. I've been doing this for a long time. But there are some falsehoods out there that we want to dispel and talk about, like the real facts of, if you were to call us about selling your house, we're going to come in and we're going to specifically talk about that house, but we're also going to talk about the market and the realities. Okay. Right. So I got a few of these here. The number one most important thing when it comes to selling your house is the price.
150%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, it is.
So if you
whether you like it or not, that's what it is.
If you see a house in your neighborhood that's been on the market for a long time, there's only one reason it hasn't sold.
The price.
The price. Yeah, right? And the price has to be reflective of its location and its condition and amenities. Okay.
Right.
What we're seeing is that because the rise in equitable gain in your house,
Yep.
right? So, I mean, a few years ago, it was like 10, 12%, which is crazy, right? Just having a house and owning it, actually the bank owns it, but you still get to keep that 10% every year. That keeps adding into that bucket of your equity. It's stabilized off now,
Yep.
right? We're down in the lower digits, like anywhere between 4 and 6%, which is very healthy, right? If you had a CD and you put money in a bank, 4 to 6% is really good.
Yeah.
We got just really used to houses going up so much. The reality is houses prices aren't really dipping as far as overall, but they're not rising as fast as we think. So when we go and meet with clients about, and I bring up a lot of evidence, and I'll do it right in front of them. Say, here you go. Here's what the houses around you have sold. Do you see where yours fit here? And usually it's somewhere in a range, right? If I say, okay, it's going to be between 350 and 375, right? The houses that are getting sold faster for more money and with better terms are the ones that price at the bottom end of that price range. And those ones actually sell faster and they actually get more money. They get better terms. They have more options. And if you price like that, what we've seen, you might have the possibility for multiple offers. Right? We had a couple of them in the last couple of weeks. And it's like, we haven't seen these in a while. But the thing to remember about that is listen to your trusted realtor, right? The market will not oversell it. They're not oversell. Buyers are smart. They're not going to overpay. So there's really, obviously you can't change the location.
Right.
There are some areas that are hotter, right? We had one we sold in a day a couple weeks ago, and this is the beginning of January.
Yeah.
It was a ranch in Millard.
Yep.
That was off the charts.
Yeah.
Right? We couldn't believe how many people wanted to see it. You might not have a ranch in Millard, right? You might have $1 million house out in the country. Those take longer, right? So it's very specific.
Might I point out though, that client took everything that we brought to them in terms of evidence and expertise and followed the advice of going on the lower end of that where we listed. So, it takes that is a huge decision when you're sitting down to list, because we've seen it go the other way too,
Obviously location is a big deal, the style of house. This is something that's come back into the equation that just wasn't there during the unicorn years. And this is going to be the condition of your house.
Oh, that's changed
it's
huge. Lot.
So again, a lot of people got into this market where they bought or sold. If it was from 18 to 22, don't use that as an experience that you should expect.
Right.
Because we've gone back towards normal where pretty much every deal has a home inspection.
Yep.
Right. And in that home inspection, buyers are using that as their right to come in and make sure the house that they're buying is sound, safe, doesn't have any major issues. You just shouldn't expect someone to say, okay, I don't want to do an inspection. That's just not happening anymore. But when it comes to the condition of the home, this is affecting its marketability more than anything else. And what I tell people is, if you look at like just overall in our market, we have an absorption rate of about 4 months, right? That means at the current speed, to exhaust our supply of homes on the market, it will take 4 months, right? So if you're in a neighborhood and 4 of your houses are listed in your neighborhood along with you, well, in the first month, one of them's going to sell. In the second month, the second one's going to sell. Then the next and the next. So we say price and condition based upon, do you want to sell in the first month or the fourth month?
Right.
If that's the time it's taking, you have to then jump ahead of your competition. Now, let's talk about the things that are important in condition.
So what has really become more important, I think it's always been important, but over time, there's way more value being added to, or buyers are being more picky on the big things, the HVAC, how old it is, being serviced, exterior, windows, siding, roofs. Roofs are a really big deal right now. And that it all goes back to insurability and insurance and all their things. That's another podcast I think we should do. But we're a prime example here. We have done, we know we won't be in this house forever. It's where we raised our kids, but we know as realtors, we've done all the windows, we've done the roof, and we've done the siding. And those are big ticket items, but that is what is causing people to walk away if they don't feel like that's something that has integrity.
Yeah, like the integrity of the home is kind of what you're thinking about, right? So people want to feel safe and protected in their home, right? So if the windows are leaking or they're not in good shape, they're thinking, oh my gosh, we're going to have rain come in or snow. If the roof's not there, I mean, people just are afraid that something bad can happen. And if you the newer and better your exterior is, they feel more protected.
Yes.
Now, in addition to that, you're talking about major appliances,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm not necessarily talking about your kitchen appliances, but talking about like your HVAC system, your
Mm-hmm.
water heater,
Mm-hmm.
water softener, anything that's running the house,
Mm-hmm.
the the box,
Yeah, the
right?
electrical
Those are all
box. Yep.
things that are major ticket items that what people don't want to do is they don't want to buy a house in the first year. They have to put $6,000 into a new HVAC
Mm-hmm.
unit when they barely were, they were getting into the house, not planning on that.
Right.
So that's a big deal. Obviously, the integrity of the home,
Yeah.
the HVAC service systems, appliances,
Yep.
and then lastly is the updates and amenities.
Yeah.
Right. And this is probably, again, if someone says I have X amount of money to spend on, what would I spend it on to get the value of your house? Go to the things that matter for its integrity and so it works right. Then work on
the cosmetic stuff.
Yeah. Like, and it isn't always that you have to have a brand new kitchen with stainless steel appliances, quartz countertops, tile floor, all that stuff, because the market, especially if in your market you don't have that stuff, but those are the things that set it apart. When a buyer goes and looks for a house, right, they look in an area, a neighborhood, a zip code, a school district, they look at a price range, right, and then your house is competing with the other ones in that area and price range. So if you're at 350, right, and your neighbor's over here at 345, but they have a new kitchen and all these things, they're going to sell before you, right? So we help you understand that. But I will say that condition has been probably the biggest thing to enter back into
condition
the market.
Versus price, right? Like
Absolutely.
I'm thinking back on just the last few months, and we've had quite a few go under contract, all their own story, as it always is. But some of them were not in awesome condition. And we did things like paint and some other things on this, but the price had to reflect that.
And or we had to come down in price, right?
Right.
Yeah. It's just, it used to be.
That's what I mean. Like it's reflected in probably a little bit lower of a price.
And during those unicorn years, it didn't matter because they
really
didn't have anything else to choose from.
Yeah.
Right now, the buyers are getting picky like that. Yeah. So price is a big deal, reflective of the condition, right? And then the other reality of this is how long it's taking to sell a house. That has probably in the last few years has doubled.
I've been excited to talk about this.
Dude,
this is a good one. No, this is just good because things are not selling overnight. They're not, their buyers are taking their time. I think most of the public has this expectation and are really holding on to the unicorn years and how things were going so quickly. And I think it gives them a lot of heartburn and stress. And it's not a bad thing. Just like the hygienist yesterday. Well, something's wrong with this house because it hasn't sold and it's been 3 weeks. So it's like she's not even a part of the situation. Yeah. So I think you enter into a situation with an actual client, and you don't go down this journey to not get it done. But there is also, it is okay to slow the process, be a little patient. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean you've done something wrong.
On the seller side, you have to move more towards where the buyers are because they're moving slower, and the buyers, you have to move more towards the sellers because now that we've got some activity, buyers are a little bit more motivated. But for a long time, we've seen how many buyers have come through our listings or us taking them through listings.
I know.
And they're like, nah, we'll think about it.
Spent a lot of hours showing houses.
I'm like, if you're going to go look at a house, you should, if you like it, then let's write an offer. Yeah. If people look at the house, but that was going on for a while. We're seeing some improvement in that. We hope that continues, but both sides need to come closer to the middle. You know what I mean?
I think it's kind of an organic process, and that's what's happening.
Yeah, sellers think that they need to sell for X amount, and the buyer's like, I'm going to wait and see how good of a deal I can get. It's like it's in the middle somewhere, and that's our job is to find that.
I think it's important too. Like, I mean, I obviously when we do these podcasts, Chris is kind of like the play-by-play. I'm the color, which is really good. But I think it's important to talk about how even when we're going through these shifts, I'll speak for myself. You speak for you. When we're going through these turns in the market, and even, the little experience I have, I feel the emotion. Like I get nervous. I know what I know from experience, and I can study data and things like that. But there's always that little but what's been interesting over the last year or so is what I thought that I have learned over the years does come around, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I still got it. Like that was right. I was, I got a little nervous, but we know what we're doing in terms of like just time on market and where pricing ends up in depending on where you go on that pricing, when you sit down with the seller, we kind of can predict what's going to happen based off that number.
Absolutely. And I love to be surprised when the market does better, but usually it's more of what we say than that. So that's from the seller side. Let's talk about the buyers real quick.
Yeah.
Obviously the speed of the market, we'll just stick on that, right? From a buyer's perspective, every situation is different.
Yep.
I would say is you can't sit there and say like, well, this house was just up for sale this weekend. Let's go look at it, but I'm going to wait and see if they drop the price. You got to be in the market enough to know whether or not it's a good deal. That's why you have realtors for, right? But you have to be. Our thing is, we try to get our clients as buyers to drive by the house before you go inside of it, right?
Yeah.
Before you call us or before we go look at it, go drive by because the neighborhood's a big deal. And then, I mean, with the internet these days, I mean, on all of our listings, you can do a 3D tour, so you can almost your first showing's online.
Could be, yep.
But then when you go to see that house, it should just be a confirmation of that you really like it or not. You know what I mean? But if you like it, then that's when we, in a very short period of time, whether it's that night or the next day, we need to make a move. Because how many times have you done that? And we're going to sleep on it. We don't know. Oh, by the way, you lost it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That has happened a little bit more than I'd like here in the last month or so.
And I don't know. I just feel like sometimes clients don't take our advice of saying, you like it? Okay, let's make an offer. I think that make a lower offer, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But don't not get in the game if you want to buy something, right?
Yeah.
So
you never want to be pushy with anybody. That's never a spot I'm comfortable. So I always want to like take their lead. But at the same time too, it's enough of losing a home that they want, and you can see it's frustrating to them, and so I also don't like to see that.
The other thing, buyers, what's become normal in our market, right, is for some of these terms, there is more negotiation from both sides, right?
Yeah.
So buyers are able to go in there and sometimes, right, get some seller paid closing costs, especially if they need them. Sellers are accepting government-backed loans like FHA and VA, some of the lower down payment ones. We are seeing inspections as back to normal, which we're okay with
that.
And we're also seeing where houses maybe contingent on appraisal, the appraisal, might come in lower, right? So these are all things that protect buyers. And you're out there with buyers more than I am, but it seems like now buyers are okay with asking, like, okay, listen, I'll make this offer here, but I need X amount in closing costs. That's just become more normal in our market than what it's been.
I just think that, back in like we keep talking about like the volatile unicorn, whatever time, buyers were so competing against each other that they were making, in my opinion, not really great offers because they were putting themselves in jeopardy. I think by overpaying, not doing home inspections, things like that. Sellers loved it because there was very little risk for them. But you're seeing sort of this correction. And I just, for anybody that's out there looking to sell in the next year or two or whatever, don't be offended or surprised if you get an offer on your home and they're asking for the world. It's just a starting point in negotiation. But having said that, buyers are able to get a little bit more than they have in a long time.
Where 3, 4, 5 years ago, you couldn't even ask that because then there's multiple offers, so it'll go to the bottom of the pile. So it is buyers and sellers are more on even ground.
I just don't want sellers to we don't want to start from a position of being offended. They have the right to ask for the world. You don't have to give it to them.
You have the right to say no, right?
Right, exactly. So it's a jumping off point. It's, you know what I mean? I don't know. I think that's been something we've been dealing with a little bit in the last 6 months or so.
And I think the good thing is that now that the market has corrected itself, that has become part of normal.
Yeah.
Right. And we have to, and if I say normal, we do this every day.
Right.
People do this every 7 to 10 years. So normal for us, but we can show evidence that this is happening.
Yes.
The other thing that with the buyers is the financing, because rates have come down a little bit. Banks and lenders are getting a little bit more creative, right? So if someone is in the market to buy a house or thinks they are, obviously call us first. Well, first thing we're going to do is we're going to get you to one of our preferred lenders,
right?
Because believe it or not, it doesn't take 20% down to buy a house every time. Right now, we'd love to have 20% down because then you have more equity. But people are going in there with as little as 3 to 5% down on a house to get maybe an FHA or even a conventional loan to pay some PMI. There are grants out there that can come. We had a client last year. They bought a house, and we said, okay, well, you need to bring the down payment to the
right,
to
like
the
a
closing,
check.
and she's like, "Oh, we don't
They
have to
don't
do
need
that."
anything.
So I called. I'm
We're like, that's awesome.
I called one. I'm like, "What the heck?" She's like, "Oh no, yeah, I got the
Mhm.
grant to pay for all of it."
Yeah.
So there's more opportunities out there than you
Mhm.
think, and we don't want people to think that that's going to stop them from
Mhm.
home ownership.
Mhm.
Is the financing? The other thing I would say on that is that you don't know until you try. As
Mhm.
far as talking to a lender, it isn't something you're not going to give us your W-2s and
Right.
tax. We're going to send you to a lender. They're going to let us know what price range you can look in, and then we'll
Right.
come up with a plan from there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have kind of rambled on here a little, which is good. It's
It's
good to
kind of
come.
fun.
Yeah, it's good to come back and just kind of get back
Yeah.
into this. I mean,
Talk
we're
about
really
it.
excited because over the holidays, obviously everyone's distracted. I mean,
Mhm.
first year came, man, and we're working with clients. We're getting stuff under contract.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
Been
fun.
It's
We
been
got
fun.
closings that are happening.
Mhm.
Okay, so our advice as we start 2026, and this is for people out there who are listening. First advice is to call us. We'll tell you this and be more specific.
Mhm.
But if you talk about generalities, I would say if you own a home now,
Mhm.
we highly encourage you to don't wait until right before you go to sell to fix
Right.
things up,
Prepare.
right? And you know, we've known people have done. Your folks have done this really good.
Mhm.
We know people have done it. Is as you live in your house, make updates, right?
Yeah.
If you want a new kitchen, get the new kitchen.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? The things that you should focus on are the things that are going to give you more integrity in your house.
Mhm.
Siding, windows, roof.
Yes.
If you have a roof that's 10 years old now or older, consider a plan to maybe have to deal with that because
Yeah.
that is getting hard to sell
Yes, it
and
is.
ensure.
That's our other podcast.
If
We're
you
going to talk
see
about that.
windows that are rotting, if you see exterior,
Right.
invest in that. That's going to give you the most thing.
Mhm.
So do that. Also, we highly recommend having a service contract on your HVAC and things like that. You
Proof that
give
you've serviced it. You can show potential buyers that. It gives them a level of
yeah.
ease.
And given the buyers are having more things to ask for, if you can sit there and show a record that once or twice a year, so and so
Company. Mhm.
HVAC has come out and they serviced it, well, that's going to be a non-issue for them.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that is a great way to add value to your house, I think.
I think if going back to basics too, put yourself in each other's shoes. You know what I mean? Put yourself in that buyer's shoes and what
Mhm.
you would want to see happen or what would make you feel more secure in making that decision. I think sometimes we forget about first time home buyers.
Yeah.
Like, you and I have lived in a lot of houses.
Mhm.
And so, someone was to come in and work with first time home buyer, they may not always remember what it's like to be that kind of nervous.
Yeah.
It's a huge investment and just having a little grace for those people.
Absolutely. So maintenance and updates are some of the biggest things you can
Mhm.
do. Now on the buyer side, what we're going to tell you is talk to a lender about getting pre-approved. Even in sometimes you might not be ready,
Mhm.
right? You might need to pay down a credit card, right? You might need to save up more money for a down payment, um, whatever it might be. Those are things that you don't know. If your dream is to own a home, well, just call us and we'll get you with one of our great lenders. Because even if you're not in position, like we have a son he's in his lower 20s, he's not ready to buy yet, but we want him to start planning
Mhm.
when he has a family that he's done the work to save up, to clean up
Right.
his credit, whatever it might
Right.
be, to purchase a home. And I think a lot of times what you know is it actually you can do it,
Yeah.
right? Um,
A little planning goes a long way.
once you get into the market, just understand that you're probably during the spring and fall, you're going to get more competition.
Mhm.
So everyone's going to say, I'm going to wait until houses go in the market, more houses go on the market in spring. Great. Well, that's when all the buyers come out to,
Right.
right?
Right.
So sometimes selling off
Mhm.
peak and buying off peak is the way to do it. And I would just say, as you go through this, you're going to have to pick what's most important to you.
Yes.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Is it
Yep.
really important that you have a 3-car garage,
Mhm.
a fenced in yard, or do you need a third bathroom or a
Mhm.
finished basement?
Mhm.
Whatever it is, those are the kind of things that when you come to us, we can get
Help
you there
narrow that down.
faster
Yeah.
than going out and seeing a bunch of houses and be like, I just decided I don't need a finished basement. You know what I
Okay.
mean? So they'll just kind of work on those things too. So um, anyway, 2026,
Let's go.
it's exciting. I know that the market, and it's because our career is in the market. It's
Mhm.
been a little bit, it's been trotting through the mud
Right.
for a while here and working really hard to try to make a living. And we're still going to work that hard, but we do see this market. There's some people who are predicting 10 to 13, 14% growth
Oh wow.
in
Yeah, I
terms
did hear
of
that.
amount of houses sold last year to this year, you're talking about double-digit growth. There should be a lot more people out there, which should encourage a lot more people to sell their house and finally get into the house that fits their needs. So anyway, that's us. That's our thing. You know, a reminder, right? Subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to our podcast, follow us on social media, and you know, teambober.com is our website. That's where we house all this stuff. Tons of great information. And regardless of where you are in the process, if you are somewhere on the path to home ownership, we want to help you out. Whether it's someday going to sell, someday going to buy, give us a holler, and we'll get you there. And we'd love to help out.
Yeah, thanks for coming into our home with us.
Yes, look forward to next time. Maybe think we'll do it again here.
I think so.
Yeah, let's do it at home.
Make sure the dogs don't bark. We're good.
Yeah. We got the dogs at a kennel and they're closed. They're making a little noise. Hopefully you can't hear it. So anyway, thanks for joining us. Check back here often for more information.